Hello everyone, welcome to free crash course for competitive exams held by VIRAT HINDUSTAN SANGHAM in association with Manifest IAS Bengaluru. This program is inspired by Dr. Subramanian SWAMY and it is held by Sri Ravishankar sir, State Education Convener for VHS Karnataka branch and also the President of Good Neighbors India NGO. So, I am the chief mentor of the program. I have been mentoring civil service aspirants for past 5 years in various competitive exams. Fine. So, you can watch this program online on the YouTube channel of VIRAT HINDUSTAN SANGHAM and also on the YouTube channel of UDAYA News Karnataka. If you wish to attend the offline classes, you can come to our center, Manifest IAS Center in Bengaluru, right? You can Google and search. Okay. So we are now negotiating with the economy, Indian economy, and what to expect out of these classes. I have been telling it again and again. Senior aspirants can use this as a revision course. Freshers to get a gist or conceptual clarity. So you can join our Telegram channel. This is our Telegram channel, VHS Education Forum. VHS Education Forum by clicking the link or scanning the QR code. Also by typing VHS space education space forum on Telegram search tab. Fine. So we are on the day 4 of Indian economy. We are lagging a bit behind, but I am going to ensure everything is covered. So, source for your Indian economy is Srirangam book. That is where I am teaching from. That is what you have to adhere to. No other source. Only simple source. Very effective. Fine. So, let us continue the fiscal policy. Already told what is fiscal policy. So, it is a policy of the government for one financial year, one particular financial year, also known as, also can be defined as the policy related to expenditure and receipt of the government. Expenditure of revenues and receipt of revenues by the government. Okay. Off budget financing. This is where we have to start today. Off budget financing. Okay. So, Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. So, the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act we discussed yesterday. What is off budget financing? Outside the budget, which is outside the budget. If the financing is done, so most of the financing is done by the budget, right? If the financing is done outside the budget, then it is called off budget financing, right? And this expenditure is not shown in the budget. Budget alli financial account and appropriation account, financial bill anta irutte. Financial bill, appropriation bill, all these bills I have discussed in Indian polity, right? So there is Otherly, this off budget financing is not shown, right? Okay. So, what is this? What includes the off budget financing? Budget in the outside. What is the financing? So, first is food subsidy by Food Corporation of India. Food Corporation of India, PDS ge hana vyaya madbekalla. Public distribution system, all your ration shop, they have to give the money. I mean, they have to give the food at subsidized price. Illane 3 ರೂಪಾಯಿ 2 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅಕ್ಕಿ ರಾಗಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಗೋಧಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. So that they will ensure by borrowing. Andre ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿ they will ensure by debt and also by for irrigation, canal building, canals and micro irrigation, drip irrigation, ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ they will borrow. And also railway projects. Railway projects also sometimes have off budget financing, that is which is not shown in the budget. Budget ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ತಗೊಂತಾರೆ? By borrowing, market ಇಂದ ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿ they are going to finance. So next, fiscal council. What is fiscal council? So fiscal council ಇವಾಗ ಇದೆಯಾ? There is no fiscal council. We have to start a fiscal council ಅಂತ NK Singh committee has told it. NK Singh committee has given an opinion that fiscal council ಅಂದ್ರೆ fiscal deficit ಎಷ್ಟಿರಬೇಕು, how to achieve this fiscal deficit, how much fiscal deficit is bad, everything I have discussed. Fiscal deficit, everything yesterday. So how much is bad, everything comes under fiscal council. So IMF says that fiscal council idre it will be accuracy, there will be accuracy in government accounts. Even they say fiscal deficit will be some 100 crores, but the actual deficit will be some 200-250 crores, right? So fiscal council idre numbers exactly will be projected. If there is 100 crore, exactly they are going to say 100 crore. So that is the benefit of fiscal council as told by IMF. And also NK Singh committee also told fiscal council irbeku anta. Yes. And DK Srivatsava committee, they also told fiscal council irbeku anta. This is all about fiscal council. Who has recommended? What is its benefits? What is its benefits? Who has recommended? 3 people have recommended, right? Fine. Next, budget reforms. Budget I told it is also called as annual financial statement. In the parliament polity I have discussed. So annual financial statement comes under article 112 of Indian Constitution, right? Budget. So what are the budget reforms? Énéನಾಗಿದೆ budget reforms? First, do you know that railway budget till 2017 was separate from normal budget? So now it has been merged, right? Earlier there used to be plan expenditure, non-plan expenditure ಅಂತ separate ಆಗಿರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. So what is plan expenditure? So 5-year plans irta ittalla, 5-year plans. According to those plans, if the expenditure is done, that is called plan expenditure. Plan prakara, 5-year plan prakara expenditure. Plan alli if there is a education ge 500 koti kodbeku, exactly for that we give the money, then that is called plan expenditure. Non-plan expenditure andre plan alli ilde irtakkantadu, which is not envisaged in the plan. Suddenly some cyclone comes, suddenly bargala agutte, that is non-plan expenditure. Munche iderudunu separate ಆಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. Now it has been merged, there is no difference. Okay, and also so this is some budgetary reforms. Next, zero based budgeting. So what is zero based budgeting? Zero based budgeting andre it is simple. See, now this year government is going to start a scheme, some scheme it is going to start. Let us say it has envisaged 100 crores over 5 years. 5 years ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ scheme ಗೆ 100 ಕೋಟಿಗಳನ್ನ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ government ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ after 1 year it stops the scheme, or the scheme will become a failure, or the government gets to know that scheme is not working. So ಅವಾಗ after 1 year this money, ಒಂದು 20 ಕೋಟಿ ಖರ್ಚಾಗಿದೆ, this money whatever left is taken back and given to some other sector ಆ scheme ಇಂದ. So earlier what used to happen, if the money is given to particular scheme, a scheme oddly, bidly, it used to, the money used to be spent. If it is a failure also, it used to be spent. Reappropriation irta illa. Ondrinda tagdu innondಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. So now, they have reappropriated. They will take zero base. Andre, starting year, the base is zero. Zero base, andre 0 year. 0 year. Starting is called 0 year. 0 year al 100 crores ittu. After 1 year, the amount left is 80 crore. Right? So after 1 year. So what they will do, if they don't want to spend on that scheme again, what will they do? They will make this as 0 year again. This 80 crore itself will be made 0 year. So this is called zero based budgeting. Zero base. Clear concept? Yes. Okay. So every year base of 0. I have told the same thing. That is what the concept is all about. So under the zero based budgeting, critical examination. Every year they are going to examine the schemes, whether they are running properly. If they are not running, no money will be given later on, right? New funding kodadilla, and they are going to take out the money and give it to something else, right? So this scheme na we have taken it from where countries implement ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. New Zealand will implement it, UK will implement it, Australia will implement it, Sweden has implemented it. Right? Okay. So, is there any benefit? Yes. First of all, ದುಡ್ಡು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. When at least 100 ಕೋಟಿ full ಕಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಬದಲು 80 crore is left. Clear? 80 crore is left, which will be used for something else. So, this is zero based budgeting. Outcome budget andreno? Earlier there used to be one thing called output budgeting. Output. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಂತ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅಂತ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ 100 ಕೋಟಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೈ ತೊಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡೋರು. They are not going to think. We have given 100 crores, that's all. Whether it works or doesn't work, we don't care. Clear? So, but later on the concept came of outcome budget. Outcome budget alli, if we are giving 100 crore, that should lead to some outcome. Some benefit should come out of it. 100 ಕೋಟಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ದೇರ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಗಳು ಕಟ್ಟಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಇದು ಸ್ಯಾಲರಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಇದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಸ್ ನ ಹಾಕಿರ್ಬೇಕು, so many things. So that is outcome based budgeting. Outcome budgeting. Earlier it used to be output, now it is outcome. Gender budgeting. So earlier whatever the scheme, if the overall budget is 10,000 crores, so 10,000 crores used to be spent. But our gender females ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೋಯ್ತು? It was not kept count. Right? So now they are keeping a count. If 10,000 crores is spent, how much is going for gender empowerment? ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಬಲೀಕರಣಕ್ಕೆ, ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಶಸ್ತ್ರೀಕರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಬಜೆಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ? That is gender based budgeting. Clear? So this is the concept of gender based budgeting. So next we have plan and non-plan expenditure. I already told you what is plan and non-plan. Plan alli there used to be assets like dams, roads, everything was planned. Those are planned expenditure. Non-plan only, I told you yesterday, building a school was considered as plan, whereas running the school, giving salary to the teachers, installing new computers or providing electricity, water supply, those were called as non-plan. Revenue, capital. So this was a bad classification. School na buildings na katti bitbidoru, school alli teachers irta irlilla. Toilets na katbidoru, neer barta irlilla. So this was merged. This classification, they said it is bad and we are going to merge it. Next, gross domestic savings. So expenditure, income bರುತ್ತೆ. Suppose you are getting 100 rupees income. After all the expenditure, your rent, clothing, food, What you are going to save is called gross domestic expenditure. Clear? So illi voluntary, you can save it as voluntary. Nimma own ಸ್ವಇಚ್ಛೆಯಿಂದ ನೀವು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪಲ್ಷನ್, ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರ ಅದನ್ನ ತೀರ್ಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸಮ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೈಟ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಯು ಟು ಸೇವ್. ಸೊ ವಾಲಂಟರಿ, ಇನ್ವಾಲಂಟರಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್? ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ they do the savings. Post office saving certificate anta kodtare. That where does that money go to? It goes to public account of India. So in polity I have discussed there are three funds: consolidated fund of India, contingency fund of India and public account of India. Right? ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್, it will go to public account. You pay the tax, it will go to consolidate fund of India. Contingency fund ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಬಂತು, ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಬಂತು, ಮಳೆ ಫ್ಲಡ್ ಬಂತು, ಡ್ರಾಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಸೈಕ್ಲೋನ್ ಬಂತು, ಆ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಫಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಕಂಟಿಂಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಫಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪಾಲಿಟಿ. You can go back and look in the classes. So savings ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ? Level of per capita GDP. Per capita GDP, I told you what is per capita. GDP, ಇಡೀ ದೇಶದ GDP ಅನ್ನ we divide it into individual person, then that is per capita GDP. So per capita GDP ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ savings ಜಾಸ್ತಿ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? Yes. Then demographic factors. Youth ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ population saving, youth will earn more, save more. But ಇವತ್ತಿನ youth they spend it on so many things. Let it be there. Then real interest rate kadme idre we will save more because lot of money. Next, fiscal policy, government gives more money into the society, we will save more money. So all these things, nimige bartakanta income ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ we are going to save more. Right? So this is with respect to savings. Next, savings and investment. When you save more, you are going to invest more, right? So when you save more, you will invest more, right? So Indiaದಲ್ಲಿ namdu, I told you, savings rate is the highest. At least we are going to save in movable and immovable assets. Movable assets ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಈ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಡವೆ ವೈಡೂರ್ಯಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಇಮ್ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಪಾಸ್ತಿ, ಅಡವು, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಮೂವಬಲ್. ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ರೇಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ಯೆಸ್ಟರ್ಡೇ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯು, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಓಪನ್ ದ ಕಿಚನ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ವುಮೆನ್, ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ದ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಜೀರಿಗೆ ಡಬ್ಬಿ, ಸಾಸಿವೆ ಡಬ್ಬಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ದುಡ್ಡು ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್. It is good. If you see the West, it is like 5 days a week they will earn the money, Saturday and Sunday they will drink and spoil the money. But it is good in India, we are saving. Even 1 rupee saved is 1 rupee earned. A rupee saved is rupee earned. Right? Okay. Okay. So, why savings is important andre? So, it can be lent for investment. Recession alli savings will help. Recession alli we can savings in the investment andra ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. So if savings go beyond a point, that is called as paradox of thrift. For paradox of thrift andre up to one level more the savings, more the investment, but beyond one level more the savings, investment ಮೇಲೆ impact ಆಗಲ್ಲ, right? That is called as paradox of thrift. Not very important from exam perspective. Domestic savings in India. So who releases the data on savings? And it is Central Statistics Office. All the major data in India are released by Central Statistics Office. All the major data, right? So now it is rechristened as National Statistics Office. Clear? So very important, right? So domestic savings namge public sector in the savings agutte. Public sector, LIC. I was yesterday speaking to a senior manager of LIC, right? So he says, LIC, if government has any problem, they will go to LIC and take the money. So LIC, now hooಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ LIC insurance money, that will be act as saving for LIC, right? That is one thing. Next, household sector. Household sector, we have good saving. So domestic savings in India. Domestic savings trends in India. Domestic andre within the country, what are the savings? So savings happens in three levels. Three levels. One is individual, second is corporate, third is government. Right? Three levels alli savings ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Okay. So growth ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಷ್ಟು savings will be more. More the growth, savings will be more. Right? But in recently, savings has been decreasing. Recently in India, savings have been decreasing, especially during COVID. Because people lost jobs. Jivana madlike kashta aito. They were very difficult to live, day-to-day living. Anna, ahara, butakke batteke, because most of them lost jobs, right? Day-to-day living, avattu earn ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, avattu ತಿನ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತವರೆಲ್ಲ, all the savings got exhausted, right? So savings rate, so what is the savings rate in India? It is 2018 alli it is 32%. 32% is the savings rate in India. 32%, right? Earlier it used to be 38, 39. Now it has reduced to 32%, right? So why savings decreased? Consumption increased. Kollu baka samskruti. Kollu baka samskruti, right? Means buying more and more goods. Active Honda idre he wants a bullet. Bullet idre car beku. Car bidre luxury car beku. Right? Oppo phone iroge Samsung phone beku, Samsung phone iroge iPhone beku. Kollu baka samskruti has increased. Next, growth has decreased. So savings rate estide, household savings, I told you overall savings is 32%, out of which 17% is household, manegalalli. And corporate sector saves 11%. 11%. Okay. Next, small savings. Small savings. So the small savings is important. Small savings. Okay. So what are the small savings? Andre post office nalli hooಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ money, that is small savings. Then next there is national saving scheme. National saving scheme anta ide, right? That is there. Then Indira Vikas Patra. Indira Vikas Patra, that is also saving instrument. Then Kisan Vikas Patra. Kisan Vikas Patra, Indira Vikas Patra, National Saving Scheme, and also Post Office Saving Scheme. These are the small saving schemes. Ani gudidare alla andange small savings will lead to big savings, right? Okay. So even central government and state government, both of them encourage the savings. Both of them encourage the savings. So nammalli small savings is highest. Small saving is the highest of all the savings. Amele small savings ge there is tax concession. Tax concession is there, right? So if you buy a if you buy a insurance, there is tax. For so many things there are tax, but small savings is exempted from tax. There is no tax, right? Okay. So I told you national savings scheme is there. One more thing is there, National Small Savings Fund. National Small Savings Fund, as I told, it is in the public accounts of India. National Small Saving Funds, it is in the public account of India, right? Okay. So Ministry of Finance, it is under Ministry of finance, right? State governments can borrow from this national small saving funds. You save martakanta hana, it is utilized by the government. Government, whenever they have a deficit, they will borrow from these saving funds, right? Okay. So, national small saving fund. Okay. Next, public debt. Public debt. What is public debt? So, the debt, the sala taken by the government is called public debt, right? Not only that, it will have so many other things. We will discuss what constitutes the public debt. Very important, public debt. Public debt actually consolidated fund of India mele yavadadru idru guarantee kotti, just like new property idre property na adamana itti you are going to take fund. Similarly, consolidated fund of India mele, if you take the money, that will constitute the public debt. Public account ali savings money, savings by saving bank account. I have a savings bank account, I keep some 1 lakh rupee, that will be go to public account. The government utilizes it, then that is a debt because government owes me money, government should give me money, right? Next, government securities andre bonds. Bond, government will give 1000 rupees bond and it will market it to the commercial sector, market ali. RBI does the marketing. It will say 1000 rupees bond it will sell and it will be sold at 970 rupees. So adana draw madadaga they will get 1000 rupees, 30 rupees profit. So market in the hanavanna government will take, that will constitute the public debt. Then RBI in the, if the government takes any money, that will also constitute public debt. These are the 4 things, right? External debt andre foreign lenders, foreigners in the, if we take money, that will constitute the external debt, right? Okay. So it may be foreign governments in the takombodu or foreign companies, right? Both of them constitute the external debt, right? So India's debt to GDP ratio. What is India's debt to GDP ratio? So Sala, that is debt to GDP. GDP in terms of real GDP, I told it is 1,90,000 crore. 190 lakh crore. Debt test ide Sala. I don't know the exact numbers. Idana ratio tagdre, it says that GDP 140 lakh crore in real terms idre, out of which 68% is the debt. You can calculate the numbers. So debt to GDP ratio is 68%, right? Idana NK Singh committee has said it has to be brought below 40%. 40% ginta kadme barbeku. The more the debt to GDP ratio, more is our liability. Nama sala increase agtade, right? Okay. So external debt. We will now focus on external debt. It is self-explanatory. External to the boundary of India, right? External to the boundary of India. So, external debt yadadu, it may be from multilateral institutions. Multilateral means what? Multilateral institutions, World Bank, IMF, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, Asian Development Bank. All these multilateral means ಹಲವಾರು ಕಂಟ್ರಿಗಳು ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್. That is multilateral. Next, it might be from bilateral. Bilateral ಅಂದ್ರೆ direct agi we are going to take the money out from the countries. USA, UK. In ಬೇರೆ African countries we are giving the money. We are not taking any money. Right? Along with that, commercial borrowings, that also commercial borrowings. That is, for example, if Infosys is an Indian company, if Infosys borrows some money, that will also constitute external debt. Not only government borrowing, but even the private borrowings. Public debt alli private borrowings ashtu idilla. But external debt alli, even the public debt means government debt. External debt includes private borrowing. Right? That is commercial borrowings, right? And also NRI deposits. NRI deposits. NRI. Is these NRIs Indians? Yes. NRIs are Indian citizens, but living in outside country. Who are not Indian citizens? PIO, person of Indian origin, and overseas citizen of India. I have discussed it in polity. These two do not belong to NRI. I mean, these are not Indian citizens. These are foreign citizens. But Indian. Illinda hogi allinda citizenship anna avaru tagondirtare. But NRIs are Indian. Suppose you have a friend who after graduation went to US and he did his masters and he is working there. But he is an Indian citizen working there. That is NRI, non-residential Indian. Okay. Avaru enaru deposit enna ittare, if they deposit some dollars in India, that will also constitute external debt, right? Not only that, rupee debt. Andre rupees, andre we will take the money in the form of rupee. So all this till now what I discussed, these are dollar debt in the terms of dollar. Rupee debt andre FPI, foreign portfolio investment. What is foreign portfolio investment? I am going to discuss later. Foreign portfolio investment also constitutes the rupee debt. It doesn't mean, it just means that foreigners invest in Indian economy, Indian companies. Stock market crash agidiyalla Ukraine crisis admele, right? Stock market alli yavadru foreign company, if they invest, right, then it is called FPI, right? FPI also constitutes external debt, also called rupee debt, because we will repay them through rupee. Though we get the money in dollars, repay madbekare we are going to repay in rupee, not in dollars, right? Okay. So some numbers I am giving you. Debt to GDP ratio was 68%, whereas external debt to GDP ratio is around 20%. 20%, right? Next, long term to short term ratio. Long term debt ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಲವಾರು ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್, 20 ವರ್ಷ 30 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್. ಸೊ that is more, 80% of our debt is long term debt. See, more the long term debt, it is good because we don't have any immediate liability. Immediate ಆಗಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇರಲ್ಲ. Short term debt is bad. Short term debt is bad, right? Okay. Commercial borrowings were the largest of external debt. Andre, you might have been thinking government is the largest borrower from external countries. Actually, it is the commercial enterprises. That is, if I borrow from a foreign entity, government or foreign bank or any Indian company borrows from foreign, that will constitute to, that is the highest debt, right? That is government debt to just 21%. External debt till government debt is 21%. Rest is other in other criteria, right? US dollar only our debt is the highest. External debt, maximum debt we have taken from US dollar. US dollar liability is more, right? Okay. So next, rupee debt. Rupee debt. Rupee only we have to repay any money in rupees, not in dollars. That is called as rupee debt. That's all. As simple as that. In domestic currency. Rupee debt is good or bad? Yes, it is good, because if rupee shortage idre we can print the money and give. But dollar shortage are naveng print madakagutte. Rupee debt is always good, right? Okay. What are these rupee debt? And rupee denominated NRI deposits. If the NRI deposits the money in rupee, then it is rupee debt. Foreign portfolio investment is rupee debt. I told you already. Foreign portfolio investment. And masala bonds. Now I will discuss what is masala bonds. Very important, right? Okay. Rupee denominated external debt is good. It is good. Enike andre rupee kodabodu, as I said, right? Currency risk is less. Currency with respect to external sector, if it increases or decreases, we don't care because it is our currency, right? So this is with respect to rupee debt. Okay. Next, masala bonds. So what is masala bonds? So Indian company, this concept is very important. Please listen to it carefully. Indian companies need to take debt from foreign resources, foreign governments or foreign global capital market, right? So what they do, there will be some financial institution, foreign, some international financial institution irutte. Indian companies want money. Indian companies want money, right? They will approach this financial institution, World Bank, IMF, all these institutions. In turn, what this financial institution does is, it will issue masala bonds. Masala bonds, and it is just a bond. It shows masala, the word masala shows that it is Indian company. Masala, to add masala, they have kept the name masala, right? Because masala is an Indian word. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಜಪಾನ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಸೆಮುರೈ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಮುರೈ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಇದಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಸೆಮುರೈ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ಇಸ್ ಎ ವಾರಿಯರ್ ಸೆಮುರೈ. ಹಂಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ದಿಮ್ಸಮ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ದಿಮ್ಸಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸೇವರಿ, ಮೋಮೋಸ್ ತರ, ರೈಟ್? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಫನ್ನಿ ನೇಮ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ, ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ಸೊ ಮಸಾಲಾ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್, so they issue this masala bonds. Via this masala bonds, foreigners can invest in Indian companies. Indian company, Bombay Stock Exchange, if they get enrolled, we can trade directly. But foreigners, can they trade? No, they cannot invest. What they will do? They will buy masala bonds and invest in Indian companies. This is with respect to masala bond, right? So it was issued by International Financial Corporation. So International Financial Corporation, it is a corporation of World Bank. It issued the masala bonds in 2014. Amele HDFC, NTPC, everybody has issued the masala bonds, right? Okay. Okay. So it is issued by some international financial institution, not Indian companies directly. Please remember it. Okay. So illi masala bonds ge, do they buy in Indian rupee or in foreign currency? Masala bonds are bought in foreign currency. It is bought in foreign currency and it is also sold in foreign currency, right? So this is the with respect to the masala bonds. So okay, so it is actually international investors, so they invest in dollars or any other their currency, and Indians also return it in the, I mean the same financial institution, international financial institution returns the money in dollars only, whatever the currency. But this company's return in dollar, I mean rupee. This institution converts it into dollar and returns to the investor, right? So direct investment illa, it is through financial institutions, right? Okay. So, what are the benefits of masala bonds, right? So, internationalize the Indian rupee, right? So, illi, since these international institutions, Indian companies are returning the money in rupee. You but we are going to give in rupee, they are going to give it in say their own dollars or whatever the currency, dollar, euro, pound, yen, right, renminbi, whatever it is. So international, so Indian rupee is going to international institutions, so Indian rupee is getting famous world across, right? That is first thing. Next, make rupee convertible, and this institution converts the rupee before giving to some foreign currency into some currency, right? So convertibility of rupee will increase. Then it will deepen the Indian financial system. Andre Indian companies ge whatever the smallest of the companies can get foreign funds. So it will go deep. Andre as deep as Indian companies, so deep foreign investments will come into India. It will deepen the Indian financial system. So this is the meaning. Next, India and sovereign bonds. So recently, 1 or 2 years back, government said we are going to give sovereign bonds. What do you mean by sovereign? Sovereign andre enu? See, if a country is exercising self-rule, then it is a sovereign country. No external influence, no British rule, self-rule, we are ruling ourselves. Then the country is sovereign. So sovereign, India and sovereign bonds. If the country, sovereign bonds, if the government of the country gives the bonds, then it is called sovereign bond, right? So what are the sovereign bonds? So where did we issue the sovereign bond? So it is a government bond marketed in the outside world, in the foreign countries, right? So what are the benefits? Benefits, instead of buying within the country, I told you crowding out effect. India country ಒಳಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ domestic ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ದುಡ್ಡು ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Government will borrow all the money. That will be saved because government will borrow from external world. That will be saved. Next, cost of credit is less. Normally, if you go to banks, what is the car loan interest? 10% per year, per annum, 9% at SPI. But you will be shocked to know in USA the interest rate per annum is just 4%. Very cheap credit. So if India borrows from external world or the foreign world, the credit will be very cheap, and also country will get foreign currency if we borrow from, so 4x can increase. So all these are benefits of sovereign bonds, right? So what are the negatives andre? It shows that ದೇಶದೊಳಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡಿಲ್ಲ. That is why we are going outside. That is one negative, right? Next, foreign currency risk. Suppose we will buy, let's assume US dollar today is 100 rupees, though it is 75 rupees, it is 100 rupees, US dollar. So we will buy when the US dollar is 100 rupees. Suddenly, due to something, it happens so that US dollar will become 200 rupees, which means Indian currency has depreciated. Currency bidogide Indian currency. That is why, modlu 1 US dollar 100 rupees idre, ivaga 1 US dollar ge 200 rupees. Right? So, ee ರೀತಿ ಆದಾಗ when we borrow from sovereign bonds ana kotti borrow madre, see, let's say we have bought only $1. $1 na ತಗೊಂಡಿ, hypothetical situation. So, 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ if you have to repay, only 100 rupees repay ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. But currency ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ರಿಂದ we have to prepay $200, 200 rupees. That is a risk, right? Currency bithodre it is a risk. That is one thing, right? Next, global economic risk. Twins deficit problem is there. That is fiscal deficit and current account deficit. All these are the problems of the sovereign bonds. Next, we will discuss sovereign debt crisis. It is as simple as this. When a country borrows from external world and fails to repay. Desha Diwali agide, bankrupt agide, then it is sovereign debt crisis. Good example is Greece. It always goes into sovereign debt crisis. ತಗೊಂಡು ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ದುಡ್ಡು ವಾಪಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದು. ಗ್ರೀಸ್, ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಸ್ ಬೋತ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್, ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್, ಮಲ್ಟಿಲ್ಯಾಟ್ರಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೈಲ್ಯಾಟ್ರಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ commercial debt ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, government debt ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, there are so many things, right? So this is external debt management. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ NRI bonds, the concept of NRI bonds. So government gives this NRI bonds. NRI bonds ಗೆ ಹೆಸರು, they are given so many names. Resurgent India bond, Resurgent India bond, and also ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಮಿಲೇನಿಯಂ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ವೈ NRI ಬಾಂಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ NRIs ಹತ್ರ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಬಟ್ಟೆ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಡಾಲರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ, ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್, ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ದ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ದೀಸ್ NRIs. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಡಾಲರ್ಸ್. ಡಾಲರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಥ್ರೂ ದೀಸ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ NRI ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್. Next, we will discuss the topic of internal debt. Debt within the country. Debt within the country. So what is the debt within the country? Loans raised by the government by treasury bills. Treasury. Treasury andreno? Kajane. Government in a kajane mele, if the government is going to raise any loans, then it is called, then it is internal debt. Right? That is one thing. Special securities issued by RBI. RBI issues some special securities. That is also internal debt. Next, small saving schemes. I told you, National Small Saving Fund, National Small Saving Scheme, Post Office Scheme, Kisan Vikas Patra, Indra Vikas Patra. E small savings, if the government realizes some debt, then it is internal debt. Right? Next, printing by RBI. RBI ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರು, then that is also small scale. Debt to GDP ratio I have already discussed. So it depends on so many things. Depends on size of the economy. Economy ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Then growth rate ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Tax buoyancy ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Tax buoyancy ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? It means how many people are paying the taxes. Tax buoyancy. Then if more people pay the taxes, debt is going to reduce, right? That is one thing. Okay. So this is with respect to debt to GDP ratio. Debt to, so I told you it is 68%. How much is the debt to GDP ratio of US? Is it less than India or more than India? You will be shocked to know that India 68% debt to GDP ratio. USA debt to GDP ratio is 104%. GDP ಅವ್ರದ್ದು $5 trillion ಇದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಡೆಪ್ ಸಾಲ more than $5.5 trillion ಅಷ್ಟಿದೆ. Right? That is why USA. But ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ their currency they can print. It is an international currency. Nobody will ask them. Okay. Next, state development loans. State development loans, right? So what is state development loans? So central government can give bonds. Bonds and government bonds and it can market and take the money from the market. So RBI on the behalf of government does the functioning, right? Whereas state government doesn't have this opportunity. They cannot sell the bonds. State government cannot sell the bonds. Bonds is a prerogative of only the central government, issued by RBI. Very important. So, okay. So, illi the difference is, central government issues both treasury bills and bonds. Treasury bills and bonds. Eradunnu the central government will issue. Khajane mele duddanna central government tagonbodu. State government ಖಜಾನೆನ ಅಡಮಾನ ಇಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, right? Okay. But when it comes to state government, they can issue state development loans. State development loans anta, it is also a kind of bond. A bond of a different kind. But ಇವರು treasury ಖಜಾನೆ ಮೇಲೆ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, right? So they will, on behalf of the state government, again the RBI will market these state development loans, and because state will get the money. Ways and means advances, very, very important. Ways and means advances. Okay. So, government account ali, there is a mismatch. Sometimes there is a mismatch, right? There is a mismatch between expenditure and receipts. Government spends 100 rupees, it will get some 98 rupees, 2 rupees mismatch. This mismatch RBI will give ways and means advances, as simple as that. It is a temporary advance, temporary sala, ways and means advances. It is a temporary sala, right? Okay. Next, ways and means advances, there is no security. There is no security. Yavude security mele kododilla. Ways and means advances. States and RBI. States and RBI. So we know so we will discuss a chapter of RBI. So first, states and RBI. What are the functioning? So state government account kuda, it is managed by the RBI. No state bank will manage it, right? So states, they cannot issue short-term loans. Short-term loans they cannot give. 1 ವರ್ಷ 2 ವರ್ಷ loan they cannot give. So they will funding requirement ke short term alli enaru ದುಡ್ಡು ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ they will go and take it from the RBI. They will go and take it from the RBI. So why? By what instrument? So by RBI that is, if the money is given for 90 days, 90 ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಲ ಬೇಕು. So then state governments will go to RBI. There are two mechanisms. The first mechanism is normal ways and means advances. Normal ways and means advances. Only up to 90 days the state government is going to receive the loans. Normal ways and means advances. First, next, special drawing facility. Special drawing facility. Idu eradu ಮೂಲಕ the state government will receive the short-term loan from the RBI, right? So, special drawing facility andre, even if you don't have any security, ಯಾವುದೇ security illade, if you are going to borrow from the RBI, then it is this special drawing facility, right? First, special drawing facility na use ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತಾರೆ state governments from the RBI. Then they will take the ways and means advances. Two things, SDF, WMA. They are going to take the money, right? Okay. Next, So adike they will be repaid through consolidated sinking fund antala ide, not very important. Next, ways and means advances, special ways and means advances, and overdraft. So I told you ways and means advances are temporary advances, temporary sala given by RBI to central and state government. Central and state government, it is given under RBI Act. RBI Act mulka kodtare. Right? Okay. So, what is the interest rate? It is, and also I told you what is ways and means advances, special ways and means. So, overdraft anta ide. Overdraft andre nimage actually if you are maintaining current account ನೀವು ಕಂಪನಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಎರಡು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇವಲ 1000 rupees ಇದ್ರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡ್ರಾ 1200 rupees ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್. ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್, ಓವರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ದ ಮನಿ, ರೈಟ್? ಓವರ್ ಮನಿ ಇಸ್ ಟೇಕನ್. ಸೊ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Because ನಿನ್ನ ಮನಿ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋ ಮನಿನ ಯು ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅಸ್. ಸೊ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್, right? Next, there are two types of ways and means advances. One is normal and the other one is special. So normal advances andre those without any security, ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಅಡಮಾನ ಇಡದೆ ಕೊಡೋಕಂತ ಇದನ್ನ we call it normal ways and means advances. Special ways and means advances andre there is some security, some pledge is given by the state or central government, right? Next, fiscal drag, the concept of fiscal drag. What is fiscal drag? Okay. So when the economy inflation is there, if there is inflation, when there is inflation, what happens? The prices will go up. 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸೇ ಆನಿಯನ್ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ per kg ಇದ್ರೆ it will go up to 110 rupees. What happens? 110 rupee or let's say 150 rupee per kg. So ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? When it is 150 kg per kg, people will think of buying it. 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಬಟ್ಟೆ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್, there is lot of demand for onion. 150 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ the demand will fall, right? Because price is high. Price ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ the demand will fall. ಈರುಳ್ಳಿ ದೋಸೆ ತಿನ್ನೋರು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಖಾಲಿ ದೋಸೆ ತಿಂತಾರೆ, right? So the demand will fall for onion. When demand falls, automatically what happens? Supply is same. Supply, let's say 500 kg of onion. 500 kg of onion earlier was 100 rupees, now it is 150 rupees. So when the price increases, the same 500 kg mele demand kadame agutte. People say no, we are not going to put onion in lemon rice or iruli dosa. We are going to just eat plain rice, no iruli, no onion. So avaga demand kadame agutte. When demand gets reduced, automatically price will get reduced. ಯಾರು ಕೇಳೋರೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ರಿಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ? Because onion will get spoiled in 1 or 2 months. Automatically the price will reduce, right? So this is called as fiscal drag. Automatic stabilizer. When a product becomes costly, automatically the price will reduce. That is fiscal drag. It is an automatic stabilizer. Next, we have the concept of fiscal cliff. Fiscal cliff. Okay. So, what is fiscal cliff? So, there is, you know the concept of fiscal deficit. Government spends 100 rupees, it gets just 98 rupees, right? So what happens? To strengthen government finances, ಫೈನಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂಥನ್ ದ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ when the economy is in recession, government will give lot of concessions, priming, right? So when the economy will pick back, when it comes back, what happens? Government will take back these concessions. So critics say economy down a little, it has raised because of government concessions. If you take back the concessions, the economy will fall again from the cliff. Cliff andre betta. Bettadinda biddage it is going to reduce. It is going to reduce. Okay. So this is fiscal cliff, right? This is fiscal cliff. When government takes back the support, the economy will slow down. That is called as fiscal cliff. Next, we will move to the concept of monetary and credit policy. So, what is the monetary policy? RBI giving policy is the monetary policy. One of the definition is the strategy of influencing money supply and interest rate to affect output and inflation. 4 terms are important. Influencing money supply, inflation, right? One is money supply, inflation, interest rate, output. Interest rate, output. Money supply. In the country, what is the supply of the money? Is the supply of money high or low? Right? Money supply. Money supply, matte that which manages the inflation. Monetary policy andre you have to play with these 4 terms. Money supply, and that the policy which manages the inflation. Price rise. Inflation andre price rise. As simple as that. Next, and which does it through interest rate. Inflation hege manage madodu? By interest rate. If the interest rate is low, there is too much money in the economy. Too much money in the economy, so there will be inflation. When the interest rate is high, less money, inflation will be less. Right? Interest rate and also output. On the interest rate, depending on the interest rate, output of the economy will. So money supply jasti idre output will be more. Money supply is less, output will be less. So all these terms collectively come together to make the monetary policy. So the strategy of influencing money supply and interest rates money supply na interest rate na we will influence. Only these 2 things we will influence. Interest rate and money supply we will influence. By which, influencing these 2, it will affect what? Output and inflation. This is what is called as monetary policy, right? So what are the aims of monetary policy? Andre price stability. In the economy, there should be price stability. Ivat 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಲು ನಾಳೆ 50 ರೂಪಾಯಿ, ನಾಳೆ 150 ಆ ತರ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. There should be stable prices. Next, accelerating the growth of economy. To increase the growth of economy, monetary policy is required. Exchange rate stabilization. Exchange rate stabilization. Andre India exchanges its money. Exchange rate means what? Dollar to rupee exchange rate. So ivattu $1 ಗೆ 75 idi, ನಾಳೆ 80, ನಾಳೆ 60, ನಾಡಿದ್ದು 95 ಆ ತರ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. It should be stable. All these things are influenced by monetary policy. So, monetary policy, we have 2 types of monetary policy. One is expansionary monetary policy. Expansionary. So, what is expansionary? When there is recession, we will put lot of money in the economy. That is expansionary monetary policy, right? When recession ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಮನಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ expand, money will expand, recession will go down or it will get ended. And also contractionary monetary policy andre when there is inflation, too much price rise iddaga we will take the money out of the system. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ? ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಬಟ್ಟೆ ದುಡ್ಡಿದೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Too much money chasing too less goods is called inflation. Too much money is chasing too lesser goods. That is inflation. ಕೇವಲ 100 kg ಆಪಲ್ ಇದೆ, but 100 kg apple, 1 kg let us say 1 rupee, assume 100 rupees, but there is 1000 rupees which is chasing 100 kg apple. So obviously 1 rupee iddanta apple it will become 10 rupees, right? That will lead to inflation. So avaga we will, if we take that 1000 rupees out of the system, the inflation will reduce. That is contractionary policy. So what are the tools available? So monetary policy na how the government adjusts. So what are the tools? These are the tools. These are the tools. Oh, we will discuss the tools one by one. One is liquidity adjustment facility. Liquidity adjustment facility. So what is liquidity? Liquidity andre think the term liquid. Money tumba ittu andre there is more liquidity. Money is less, then there is less liquidity. As simple as that. Okay. So why liquidity adjustment facility andre there is day to day bank day to day functioning aguttalla, day to day banks are functioning. Liquidity mismatch agutte andre today a bank gives, suppose Bank of Baroda gives 100 crore loan, but it receives the deposit of 90 crore on that day. Liquidity is mismatching 10 crores. So to maintain that, RBI will take the money from the RBI. Short term basis, day to day basis, short term basis only they are going to take the money from RBI. That is liquidity adjustment facility, right? So it was introduced in 2000 by RBI. 2000 alli. So illi they RBI adjusts the liquidity. Through this RBI adjusts the liquidity. If the RBI wants more liquidity, it can give more money to the banks. If it wants less liquidity, it will give less money to the bank. So based on which the money is given, banks sumne money kutpudtara. If the government banks want money, Bank of Baroda I told 10 crore if it wants, sumne kotpudtara RBI? No. They are not going to give like that. So these banks, these private and public sector banks, they will have government securities. Government bonds irutte avratra. They will deposit these bonds with the RBI and take the money. Liquidity adjustment facility. So liquidity adjustment facility li yav rate al tagontare duddu? They are going to buy it as repo rate. I will discuss what is repo rate. So they are going to take the money at repo rate. Okay. So this is repo rate. Repo rate andre as simple as that. Banks takes the money from RBI. The interest rate charged is repo rate. If the RBI takes the money from banks, then it is called reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate, right? So reverse repo rate is always 25 points less than repo rate. I discussed in the other class because adrindane RBI dudduna madodu. Repo rate is also called the policy rate. Repo rate is also called the policy rate. Why policy rate? Because it shows the policy of the government or RBI. It shows the policy of the RBI, right? Who are eligible to take this liquidity adjustment facility? Andre commercial banks. All commercial banks are eligible. Commercial banks andre yavdu? Canara Bank, SBI, HDFC, ICICI, all these banks. But regional rural banks are not eligible. very important. Regional rural banks are not eligible to take the money from liquidity adjustment facility. Right? Next, marginal standing facility. Marginal standing facility. So, 2011 ali government introduces this marginal standing facility. In 2011 they introduced it. So, it is a penal rate. Penal rate. Penal andre penalty. It is a penalty rate. Marginal standing facility. Yavaga marginal facility ali banks can borrow from the RBI. Liquidity adjustment facility liro iga liquidity adjustment facility yaudra mele ದುಡ್ಡು ತಗೋತಾರೆ government securities. If the liquidity adjustment facility gets exhausted, there is no liquidity adjustment facility, then they will buy it from marginal standing facility. These terms are very, very important, right? So why marginal standing facility andre to increase the liquidity. Liquidity adjustment facility ಇರೋ ದುಡ್ಡೆಲ್ಲ ಖಾಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡಿಟಿ ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಗೆ marginal standing facility. Liquidity means more money. More the liquidity, more the money in the market. Clear? Okay. So illi it is a penal rate. Penal rate ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. Why penal rate ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ repo rate ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಮನಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ಇದೀರಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ, ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ರೈಟ್. ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ they give one gold chain and take 1000 rupees, you will charge 1 rupee interest. If they just take money from you based on check, you will charge more interest, right? Likewise, marginal standing facility, they will charge more interest, right? Okay, it is a higher. So monetary policy committee announces the policy rate. Repo rate is called the policy rate. Policy rate andre repo rate. So please remember. Next, bank rate. There is a term called bank rate, but this is no longer in use, but we have to study it. So if the banks take the money from RBI for long term, they are going to take the money from RBI, then it is called as bank rate, right? It is called as bank rate. Okay. So that is also used for managing the money in the long term. Bank rate and just remember long term taking of money from the RBI, right? Okay. So bank rate ಏನಾದರೂ ರಿವೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್, ನೀವು ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಇಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ಎಷ್ಟಪ್ಪ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಇಟ್ರೆ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಯರ್ಲಿ ಸಮ್ 4%, right? 4 or to 6%. I don't know the exact rate. I think it is somewhere around 4%. So bank rate na if revise aitu andre your deposit rate will also change. Your deposit rate will also change. So illi liquidity adjustment facility bandmele long term ge kodta illa RBI. So it has stopped. Instead of that it gives under liquidity adjustment facility, the RBI lends the money, right? Okay. So next, long term repo rate. Since RBI bank rate stop ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ liquidity adjustment facility ಯಾವ್ದ್ರ ಕೆಳಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, we give it under repo rate. So repo rate ne this is no longer there. Long term bank rate is no longer there. We are giving money under LAF and MSF. This is short term. I told you it is short term, day to day managing of idu. So LTRO long term illi yaudral kodta idivi, repo rate al we are giving the money. So illi if we give the money repo rate ne long term I kotre, then it is called long term repo operation, LTRO, long term repo operation. This was introduced recently 2020 ಅಲ್ಲಿ LTRO ನ introduce ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Why? To increase the liquidity, to infuse the liquidity in the banks, right? ಇಲ್ಲಿ LTRO ಅಲ್ಲಿ up to long term ಅಂದ್ರೆ not 100 years but 1 to 3 years. 1 to 3 years they are going to borrow. So, illi under LTRO there is a collateral, just like LAF ali collateral ide. MSF ali collateral illa. LTRO there is a collateral. Collateral andre security, adamana kotti itkondi dudduna kododu, right? Okay. So this is longer duration. Why does it help? It helps in the longer duration financing. So illi one more term is there, that is targeted LTRO. Targeted LTRO. What is targeted LTRO? Andre, it is targeted at a specific sector. Here in the case corporate sector. Corporate sector alli if the LTRO is targeted, that is andre whatever the money under LTRO the banks are getting, they should invest it in corporate sector only. That is targeted LTRO. Clear? Okay. So LTROs provide banks. So illi cheap credit sigute under LTRO. Cheap credit. If the banks borrow it from market, it will be higher, right? So okay. Illi bank, it is based on collateral, majorly the government security, right? Next, base rate and MCLR. Base rate and MCLR. What is the base rate? So one term is here important. Monetary policy transmission. Avaglu RBI galate ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. Finance ministry, more than RBI, it is the finance ministry. Why? Based on this margin, monetary policy transmission, MPT, monetary policy transmission. What is this monetary policy transmission? Andre, government, RBI gives the money to the banks, right? So many banks are there, SBI, HDFC, ICICI, so many things. RBI gives the money to them, let's say repo rate. Repo rate under LAF 4 rupee ivaga. 4 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇಲ್ಲ 4 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆ they are going to give. Earlier ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು? Let's say before COVID 6 to 7%, around 6% ಏನೋ ಇತ್ತು. Now it is reduced. 6 or 7, I think it's 7. Okay. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ತು RBI. So these people in the normal time, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ they used to charge us 9 rupee interest. ಇವ್ರು ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. But illi if the RBI reduces the repo rate to 4%, these people also should reduce, right? Or else it will be excess profit for them. Illi these people, if they don't reduce, it is called no monetary policy transmission. Monetary policy is getting transferred from RBI to banks, from banks to citizens. This is monetary policy transmission. If the rate is getting transferred from RBI to banks and banks to citizens, that is monetary policy transmission. Okay, clear, right? So this concept of only with respect to monetary policy transmission, there is a concept called bank rate. What is a bank rate? Okay, so ella bankigu there is a floor rate anta irutte, below which they should not lend. Floor rate andre let's say housing loan, any loan they will fix 8 rupees. RBI fix ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇದ್ರ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಕೊಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ it will lead to competition. ನಾನು 8 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅವನು 7 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. So it is our competition ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತಾರೆ, but it is bad for economy. So base rate anna RBI will fix. RBI will fix, that is called base rate, below which the banks cannot lend. Next, there is a concept of marginal cost of lending rate. Marginal cost of funds based lending rate. Marginal cost of funds based lending rate. So this was introduced in 2016, MCLR. So to improve the monetary transmission, transmission. I told you what is monetary transmission. Chanag ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. To make it good, they have introduced the MCLR. Okay. So illi what does this do? It does just ensures good monetary policy transmission, right? So it ensures so illi MCLR is set by each bank. See, base rate is set by the RBI. MCLR is set by the banks, right? See, base rate itbidutte RBI. ಈ ಬೇಸ್ ರೇಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇವರು ಎಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ SBI might choose it to keep it at 8%. So this is MCLR rate. What the banks keeps above the bank rate, base rate, that is MCLR rate, right? Next, reserve requirements. Next comes the concept of reserve requirements. Reserve andre simple as this. Whatever the money that is in bank, out of which some percentage, let's say 20%, should be kept in RBI. RBI safer deposit ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Why? It ensures price stability, no inflation. Next, ಆ ದುಡ್ಡಿಂದ RBI can give loans to the government, right? And also it will ensure safety of banking operations. ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿನೂ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಇದೆ, ಇವ್ರು 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿನೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅವರು. 20% RBI ಇಟ್ರೆ ಸೇಫ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. It ensures safety of banking operation. It will ensure management of liquidity. Liquidity ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದಾಗ ಇದನ್ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. 18% ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 2% will get added to the banks, 2% they will lend to public. So all these things are the uses of reserve requirements. Next, we have SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. Statutory liquidity ratio andre it is mandated by law. Statutory andre law. Liquidity ratio, ಎಷ್ಟು liquidity ಇದೆ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಎಷ್ಟು liquidity ಇದೆ. Okay. So what is the definition andre? It is the portion of fixed and time deposits. Fixed deposit and time and demand deposit. So there are two kinds of liabilities. Liabilities andre enu? You take money from someone, you are under liability. You are liable to pay him back. That is the meaning of liability. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. Liability, right? So there are two types of liability for banks. ಒಂದು time liability and the other one is demand liability. What is time liability? See, you know the concept of FD, fixed deposit. You will put money in the banks for 2 years. 2 years. Fixed deposit. ಈ 2 year ಮುಂಚೆ you cannot go and ask the bank. ಹೋದ್ರೆ they will give less money, but the standard is 2 years. 2 years time deposit. 2 years before which you will not go and ask the bank. So this is time deposit. What it is? Time, for a fixed time. Whereas you put money in your savings bank account, SB account. So ಈ SB account na you can draw it whenever you want. No time limit. ಮಧ್ಯರಾತ್ರಿಲಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ATM ಇಂದ ಹೋಗಿ you can draw. So this is demand liability. Demand liability. ಅಂದ್ರೆ whenever you demand, the money is available to you. This is demand liability. This is time liability. Banks have two types of liability. Clear? Okay. So statutory liquidity ratio. So it is a portion of time liability and demand liability. They should keep with the RBI. ಇದು ಎರಡರೂನು ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಟೈಮ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಇದು some percentage they should keep with the RBI. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ RBI ಮನಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವುದೇ ಆದ್ರೂ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಟೈಮ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಮನಿನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ವಯಾ ವಾಟ್? ದುಡ್ಡೇ ಇಡಬೇಕಾ? ನೋ, ನಾಟ್ ಮನಿ ಬಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್. ಆ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ they buy government security out of these two, and that security will be kept with the RBI. That is the statutory liquidity ratio, right? So ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ liquid assets ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು government securities can be used as SLR. Even cash will be kept at some times, that is also SLR. Gold will be kept, gold, that is also SLR, right? Okay. So the assets, I told you what are the assets. So gold, cash and government bonds, treasury bills. Okay. Okay. So why this SLR ratio andre? To control blank credit. SLR ಇಂದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಎಸ್, some SLR 20% SLR ittu andre, this 20% is not available for bank to give loan because they have to mandatorily keep it with RBI, right? So to control the credit na ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ RBI ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, then it will reduce the SLR 5%. Let's say it is reduced to 15%, 5% will go to the bank's. Credit increases, sala they can give more, right? And also it ensures the solvency of commercial banks. Solvency andre bank ದಿವಾಳಿ ಆಗೋದನ್ನ ತಪ್ಪಿಸುತ್ತೆ because 20% safe savings ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. That, and also it makes banks to invest in government securities, right? SLR and kept in what? Government security. Government security invest ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೇರೇಪಣೆ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ, right? And also SLR is a signal to market. It signals the market that this is the monetary policy. If SLR increases, it is a contractionary policy. More money is taken out of the market. If SLR decreases, more money is pumped into the market. So it shows the RBI ಧೋರಣೆಯನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ, right? Okay. So now it is around 18%. SLR is around 18%. ಅಂದ್ರೆ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ 18% they have to keep with where? RBI. That is SLR. Okay. Next, liquidity coverage ratio. Liquidity coverage ratio. What is liquidity coverage ratio? So banks day to day functioning alli they will not have liquidity. Day to day functioning banks will not have more liquidity. Liquidity andre money supply iradilla. So what they do, they borrow it from the RBI. So liquidity assets, so they what they do, they will borrow it from the RBI. So liquidity stress ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮನಿ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದ್ರೆ they are going to take it from the RBI via what? So your collateral na kotti, or by giving collateral. What collateral? They'll give government securities or cash. Government securities or cash na kotti, they are going to increase the liquidity, money supply. Next, cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio. So what is cash reserve ratio andre? It just means that the amount 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ overall ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿ assets, so out of 100 rupees apart from SLR na bitti ಕೆಲವೊಂದು assets na SLR can be kept in gold, government security and cash. Cash reserve ratio should be kept in cash only. So how much money out of the 100 rupees should be kept in the bank in the form of cash? that is in the RBI idbeka dudna, that is cash reserve ratio, right? So it is mandated by RBI Act anta ide 1934 Act that mandates the what cash reserve ratio. So the concept is simple. How much money they have to keep in cash, that is cash reserve ratio. Next, incremental CRR. This was used in a specific situation. So what is incremental CRR andre? See, generally the CRR will be 4%. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಡೀ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಎವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ರೆ 4 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ನ ವಿತ್ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕೀಪ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದ RBI, the banks, right? Okay. Incremental CRR ಅಂದ್ರೆ all the 100 rupees should be kept in the bank in the form of cash when it is used during demonetization. During demonetization, what happened? All our money went to bank, old money. That 500 and 1000 rupee note, it went to the bank, right? So ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, banks were flooded with liquidity. Too much liquidity were there. That liquidity, money supply, liquidity means money supply, that should be taken out of the banks. So what the RBI did, it increases the CRR to 100%. All the money is taken out of the RBI, I mean banks. That is incremental CRR, only used during this what? Demonetization. Next, standing deposit facility. What is standing deposit facility? This was introduced in 2018. It was introduced in 2018. So why it was introduced? Because of demonetization. Because of demonetization. So demonetization li sikkapate money barutte banks ge from the public, that has to be removed. So they introduced this liquidity, I mean incremental CRR and also standing deposit facility, right? Okay. So what they did under standing deposit facility, they increased the CRR to 100 rupee. They increase as a CRR to 100%. I discussed that already, right? Okay. So that is standing deposit facility. Andre CRR increase madadane, they are going to say standing deposit facility, right? Okay. Next, we will discuss the concept of open market operations, OMO. Open market operations. What is open market operations? See, so open market operations andre simple. RBI, what does it do? It manages the account of state and central government. So if the state government needs the money, they will give state development loans, SDLs. If the central government needs money, they will give bonds or treasury bills. ಈ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಟ್ರೆಷರಿ ಬಿಲ್ಸ್ ನ, ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ನ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲೋನ್ಸ್ ನ, ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ or the RBI buys it also from the market, then it is called open market operation. As simple as that. That operation is called as open market operation, right? State development loan, treasury bills and also the bonds, right? Okay. That is what is meant by the open market operation. Purchasing and selling of government security. Purchasing and selling of government security. Next, we have the concept of Operation twist is not a concept but a operation. So it is a subset of open market operation. What is operation twist andre? 2019 ali this happens. Operation twist happens in 2019. So what is this is andre? Government buys short-term liabilities. Short-term selling short-term government bonds and buying long-term government bonds. Short-term bonds na they will sell. Andre 90 ದಿನ 180 ದಿನ ಇರೋ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ na they will sell and they will buy back long-term bonds. Long-term bonds andre 2 years, 3 years, 10 years bonds na they are going to buy. Why? Okay, so why andre long-term bonds ge there was no demand. There was no demand, so they in order to increase the demand for short term, demand bidoitu andre it will be a bad signal to the economy. So they are going to increase the demand by selling short term bonds. ಈಗ ನೀವೇ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಪ, if you invest 100 rupees, if someone says you they will give you 150 rupees after 10 years, or if you invest 100 rupees, someone will say you in 60 days I am going to give you 110 rupees. Which one do you prefer? 60 days only, right? Because 10 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದಿ 150 ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಬದಲು 2 ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ will take 110 rupees. That is why the houses are na lease ಗೆ ಹಾಕೋತಾರೆ, ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಹಾಕೋತಾರೆ, right? Concept. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀಸ್ ಗೆ 10 ವರ್ಷ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಬದಲು they will 10 ವರ್ಷ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ 10 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಲೀಸ್ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಬದಲು they will what they do, ಅದೇ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟು ಬರೋ ಬಡ್ಡಿಲಿ they are going to give the rent, because giving 10 lakhs at together is a risk. ಮೋಸ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಓನರ್. ಅದೇ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ರೆ money is safe, by the interest you can pay the rent. Similar, that is the concept of operation twist. Okay, so they do this thing to, but they sell the short term market, short term bonds and buy the long term bonds. So you know what is long term bond and what is short term bond, right? So it is a confidence building measure. It is a confidence building measure, right? Okay. So short term bonds na sell ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ demand will increase. Demand will increase from the bond, because long term bond ge there is no demand. Next, market stabilization bonds. Market stabilization bonds, right? So what is market stabilized bond andre? Okay, so I told you incremental CRR ali during what? During demonetization all the money was taken out of the system during the by the incremental CRR. Ade reeti if too much foreign money comes to India, foreign dollars, it comes to India, how to take it out of the system? How to take it out of the system? Why, first of all, why to take it out of the system anta foreign dollars? So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, one is to increase the forex reserve. Foreign dollars na save ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಷ್ಟು ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು. To increase the forex reserve, they are going to take the money out. And also foreign dollars bandre it might create instability. Too much foreign dollars in the individual domestic market, it might create instability. So there should be a proper balance. Because of these two things, foreign dollars are taken out. So how the foreign dollars are taken out andre, It is through market stabilization scheme. Earlier what the government used to do, ಈ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಡಾಲರ್ಸ್ ನ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿನ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋರು ರುಪಿನ, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬೈ ದಿಸ್ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಡಾಲರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ವಿಚ್ ಹಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್, rupee supply in the economy used to increase, it used to give rise to inflation. Also rupee na print ಮಾಡಿ you buy the foreign dollar, rupee value decrease ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ತಾನೆ. More and more rupee you print to buy more and more, so foreign dollar will become more strong, rupee will decrease. So because of these reason, what they did, they devised a scheme called market stabilization scheme. Adana market stabilization bond anna ಮಾಡಿ, they give the bond, not rupee. Earlier rupee they used to give and take the foreign dollars. Now they give this bond and take the foreign dollars. Bond na kotre ಏನು problem ಆಗಲ್ಲ, no excess money. So this is the concept of ಇದನ್ನ sterilization ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Sterilization ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಈ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಸಿಸರ್ಸ್, knives, all those things. Or earlier times there used to be reusable syringe. ಒಂದು ಸಿರಿಂಜ್ ನ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, reusable syringes ಬರೋದು. ಅದೊಬ್ರು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ UV ಕಂಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರೋದು, ಅದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಇಡ್ತಾರೆ to make all the diseases, microbes, microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, all these things get killed, so that one disease will not get transferred to other. Even if you go to posh haircut saloons, low level alli they don't care. Posh high level saloons godre, after every haircut they are going to sterilize the scissors, combs and everything. Clean madadana, it is called sterilization. So illu kuda this taking the money or the dollars out of the system is called as sterilization, right? Clearing it. Okay. Next, quantitative easing. What is quantitative easing? So idinge quantitative easing alli there is it was done by USA. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ USA ಆಯ್ತು? I told you about the 2008 financial crisis. Did I? Yes, right? 2008 financial crisis. So during 2008 financial crisis, what used to happen? There was, the economy had gone into double dip recession. Double dip recession. There was slowdown, too much slowdown was there. Avaga government gives loan at a very low interest rate. They give loan at a very low interest rate. That is called quantitative easing. They will give the money to the market in a very low interest rate. That is quantitative easing. It was done by USA. It was done by USA. Okay. So low interest rate alli government gives the money. What happens? There is an increase of demand in the market, right? Low interest rate. ₹1 ಸಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ₹1 ಬಡ್ಡಿಗೆ, if someone gives money, obviously people will take. So it will increase the demand for money. So when the increase for the demand for money, there is increase in demand, increase in production, increase in employment, positive spiral in the economy. Quantitative easing was done. So liquidity trap. What is liquidity trap andre? Despite ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಈಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೂಡ, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೂಡ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, then it is called as liquidity trap. Okay, 0% interest al ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. Then also there is no increase in demand. At very low interest also there is no increase in demand. So that is liquidity trap. Andre government ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ ರೇಟಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರು nobody is taking the money, then that is called the liquidity trap. Liquidity trap ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ it will lead to depression. So quantitative easing na ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ what are the tools used for quantitative easing? One is the interest rate. Interest rate is one thing. Next, selective credit controls. What are the selective credit controls? So one second. Can be used through qualitative tools andre credit rate na reduce ಮಾಡೋದು is a qualitative tool. Quantitative using ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. What is the tool? A tool is credit rate or interest rate, right? Next, selective credit control andre like RBI gives money to the banks. Money, if it has to go to a particular sector, agriculture ge hogbeku, right? Just like TLTRO, targeted LTRO, which is concentrated on corporate sector. Likewise, selective credit control andre ee particular sector gene money hogbeku. Okay. So margin requirement andre we will give 100 rupees. Out of 100 rupees, 50% should go to agriculture anta helbodu in selective credit control, but out of which some 10% can be kept as safety. 50% to agriculture ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? If they default, ಸಾಲ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 10% will act as a buffer. That is margin requirement. Next, rationing of credit andre it is just like rationing means what? Ration. What is ration? You go to ration shop, departmental store, 1 kg rice, half kg tur dal, right? 250 gram urad dal. So all the rations are different products are taken in different quantities. One is 1 kg, another is half kg, another is 2 kg, right? Clerk, you will take the ration. So adhe riti, if the banks divide the credit money among different sectors, idikistu anta, then it is rationing of credit. Simple. Next, moral suasion. So moral suasion andre these banks have to give money to the public at a low interest rate. So avaga RBI will time and again push them or persuades them to give the money at a low interest rate. That is called moral suasion. Andre morally by matal heltare, they are not going to use any force. Please give ಅಂತ ಅವಾಗ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ one constable ge one IPS officer gives a call, the work will be done. Like that, RBI gives a call to the bank, work will be done. Just a call. Moral suasion. Next, interest rates and their importance. How are interest rates are important? See, interest rates are important because inflation, low inflation or high inflation ಇದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? The interest rate will be, so when there is low interest rate, 1 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬಡ್ಡಿಗೆ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ everybody will take the money and it will lead to what? Price rise. I told you, everybody has money but there are same products, no increase in the products, so that will lead to increase in demand. Increase in demand. So then next, to control the inflation, we need interest rate. What if we increase the interest rate? What will happen? The inflation will come down because not much money in the market. That is one. Next, need for growth. Interest rate na tweak ಮಾಡಿ, change ಮಾಡಿ, we can alter the growth. Interest rate kadame itre more money, but we should see to it that inflation ಆಗಬಾರದು. ಆ ತರ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ more money, it will lead to more demand, more growth, more products will be manufactured. That is one thing. Next, interest rate inda we can promote the savings. Interest rate ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ RBI. So ನಿಮಗೆ somebody is giving you 5 rupees interest, 5 rupees ಬಡ್ಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. If bank gives you 8 rupees, you are going to put the money in the bank, right? More interest, you are going to put the money in the bank. So that is one thing. Next, okay. So how does the interest rate is influenced? It is through all the instruments I discussed. LAF, marginal standing facility, CRR, all those things, right? There are two interest rates. Two interest rate. One is fixed interest rate. Another is floating interest rate. Fixed interest rate andre 4% interest rate andide 4% irutte. Floating andre it will change. Suppose you are in good employment, ನಿಮಗೊಂದು interest rate ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. My employment, suppose it is bad, my interest rate will be different. So based on the customers or based on the situation, the interest rate will change. That is called as floating interest rate. There are two types of interest rates. Next, negative interest rate. What is negative interest rate andre? See, this is a problem of European countries, not India. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, see, I told you in the USA the interest rate is just 3 or 4%. If you buy a car ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ 9% ಇದೆ SBI ಅಲ್ಲಿ. But in USA car loan is just 1.5 rupees ಬಡ್ಡಿ. 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ 1.5 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರಿಗಷ್ಟೇ. That is why all the posh ends car go there, right? ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಡಿ BMW ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಬೈ ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಿಗ್ ಕಾರ್, ಎಸ್. ಸೊ 1.5%, ವೆರಿ ಲೋ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್. ಸೊ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ, ಇಫ್ ದ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ RBI ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್, RBI ಒಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸೇ RBI ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್ ಈಸ್ 5% or let's say 10%. Interest rate is good. All the banks will keep the money in RBI, right? Let's say the interest rate reduces to 3%. See, there are two interest rates. One lending interest rate, one borrowing interest rate. Till now I told inflation related interest rate is lending interest rate. Now I am talking about RBI borrowing interest rate, reverse repo rate. So 10% interest rate ittu andre, banks will save the money because they are going to get 10 rupees laba. But if it reduces, generally interest rate kadame adaga ದುಡ್ಡು idalla. But European countries alli enagide, there is so much liquidity in the market. Even the central bank keeps the allin RBI. ಅವರು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 1 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇಟ್ರು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮಗೆ 1 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಐ ಕೀಪ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್. ನಾವು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್ ದ ಮನಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್, ದೇ ಆರ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರೇಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರು ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನಮಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ನಾವು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಇಟ್ರೆ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ RBI ವಿಲ್ ಗಿವ್ ಬಡ್ಡಿ. But in order to keep your money, you have to give your money. And then you 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ, if you park in India, the case is you will get 10 rupees more interest. But European countries, it has so happened, if you park 100 rupees, you will get 99 rupees. That's all. 1 rupee bank ki katbeku in order to save your money. So obviously negative interest rate idaga nobody will save. Nobody will put the money in bank. Rather they will invest. That is why negative interest rate, right? So next we have the concept of two nominal interest rate and real interest rate. Nominal interest rate is inflation. Inflation in the borrow interest rate is nominal. Real interest rate andre which is adjusted to inflation. Rate which is adjusted to inflation. That is okay. That is real interest rate. Okay. Next, money supply. Money supply. Okay. What is money supply? Money supply andre currency and coins in circulation. Money supply. Next, demand and time deposits. I told you what is demand and time deposit. That is also money supply. Next, post office deposit also money supply. Now we have the concept of monetary aggregates. This concept is very, very, very important from your examination perspective. So RBI there are four types of money. Four types of money. M1, M2, M3, M4. M1 is called narrow money. M1 is called narrow money. What is narrow money? Andre M1, it is currency with the public. Narrow money is called currency with public plus demand deposit. Currency with public plus demand deposit. Demand deposit. Next, other deposits. Other deposits. Other deposits. This is M1. Next, what is M2 andre? So this is next to M2 andre, it is M1 plus post office savings account. Post office savings account idre, that is M2. Right? This is with respect to India. Next comes, so M1 I told it is narrow money. Next comes M3, which is broad money. Broad money. So what is broad money? It is M1 plus time deposits with the banking systems. Bank. So illi I have added just demand deposits. So if the M1, if you add time deposit also, time deposit, fixed deposit. If you add that also, it will become M3, that is broad money. Next, M4. M4 andre M3 plus post office deposit. Post office deposit. All deposits with the post office, right? Okay. This is the concept of monetary aggregates. Very, very important from your examination perspective. Next, we have the concept of demonetization. Right? Demonetization. Okay. So, what is demonetization? So here, 2016, November 8, 2016, November 8, how many currencies were demonetized? 500 rupee and 200 100 rupee banknote. 500 and 100. 500 and 100. Sorry, 1000. 500 and 1000. Both of these were demonetized. So, was this the first demonetization? No. 1946 alli matte 1978 alli there were two demonetizations. 1946 and 1978 there were two demonetizations. Right? Okay. So, what are the pros and cons? Positives and negatives of demonetization. 1. Black money is taken out. Black money is taken out. Next, it will for digitalization. UPI anta ittala. UPI, saving, Google Pay, Phone Pay. Was it there before 2016? No. Because of demonetization that happened. Next, terror financing reduced, fake currency reduced, right? All this is the positives. Negatives andre people were put to lot of trouble. People were put to lot of trouble. ಹೊಸ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಬಟ್ಟೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಹಿಡಿತು. ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್. ಅಂಡ್ RBI go, there were lot of difficulty. Next, Indian Financial Code. What is Indian Financial Code? So illi Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission. Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission speaks about the Indian Financial Code. This commission was headed by Justice B.N. Sri Krishna. So Indian Financial Code. So it speaks about the financial laws. ಏನೇನು financial laws ಇದೆ? Banking Regulation Act, RBI Act, and your Surface Act. Surface Act ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. And also there is this Asset Reconstruction Companies Act, IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. All these comes under Indian Financial Code. Next, we will discuss the concept of Monetary Policy Committee. Monetary Policy Committee. Okay. So what is Monetary Policy Committee? So, monetary policy andrenu? Money related policy is monetary policy. Who does it? It is done by the RBI, right? Okay. So 2016 RBI Act na government amend ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. 2016 ಅಲ್ಲಿ RBI Act, it was formulated in 1934 RBI Act, the government amends and it sets up the Monetary Policy Committee. So it was based on what? What is the goal andre? Inflation targeting. Targeting the inflation is the goal of this committee, Monetary Policy Committee. Okay. So inflation targeting under Monetary Policy Framework Agreement. ಈ ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕಮಿಟಿ? ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ 6-member ಬಾಡಿ. ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕಮಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ there are 6 members, right? 6 members. Who is the head? It is headed by the governor. It fixes the policy rate. What does it do? Policy rate. What is policy rate? Repo rate. I have been telling again and again. Our repo rate is called the policy rate. Okay. So they make the monetary policy decisions, whatever it is, SLR, CRR, inflation targeting, repo rate, RBI functioning, debt restructuring. Everything is decided by the Monetary Policy Committee. So majorly its function is inflation targeting. So 3 members, yaru? RBI governor will be there, deputy governor will be there, and one more member, and 3 independent members. 3 independent members who are appointed by the government. Okay. So illi voting ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. Voting, and based on voting they will decide the repo rate. So to contain the inflation. Okay. So so after meeting, ಇವರು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ 6 ಸಲ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕಮಿಟಿ, they do the meeting once 6 times in a year, right? Okay. What is the advantages? Because earlier only RBI governor used to set the repo rate. Now by a committee decision is also good, is always good. Then earlier RBI governor ಒಬ್ಬರೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿಂದ government used to influence the rate. Now no, reduced influence. Now there is reduced influence. Okay. So there, and also there is a proper institution to set the rate. Okay. Next, Monetary Policy Framework Agreement. This agreement was done in 2015. Monetary Policy Framework Agreement. And why this agreement was done? To set up the Monetary Policy Committee. Okay. So, illi target inflation. Inflation is targeted at 4%. Inflation is targeted at 4%. Which inflation? Headline consumer price inflation. Headline consumer price inflation. I will discuss it under the chapter of inflation. So, illi if the Monetary Policy Committee, if they don't inflation ಏನಾದ್ರೂ 2% ಇಂದ 6% ಒಳಗಿರಬೇಕು 4% ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಈ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಈ ರೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, if it is not at that rate, then Monetary Policy Committee has to give explanation. They have to explain to the government what happened, right? Okay. And every 6 months they publish the Monetary Policy Report. Every 6 months they publish the Monetary Policy Report. Next, we will discuss the concept of Monetary Policy Transmission. Monetary Policy Transmission, right? So, Monetary Policy Transmission, and it is as simple as MPT. I told you, from RBI to banks, banks to public, the policy has to transfer, right? Okay. So, for timely, this has to take place timely. Yuru rate na ivaga kadme madi, yuru 6 ತಿಂಗಳ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ no. As soon as possible, it should be reduced. Next, it will help the public. Monetary policy transmission adre public will get help, and also then it will bad loans will reduce. Bad loans will reduce. Andre monetary policy kadme adre, I'll discuss what is bad loans. Bad loans andre those loans which are not being repaid. Vijay Mallya, Mehul Choksky, whatever the loans that are not repaid are called bad loans, right? Bad loans. Okay. So, external factors. Monetary policy transmission ge internal factors and external factors ide. So, external factors, US rate. US rate enadru US do interest rate. US alli US Federal Reserve antide. Federal Reserve is RBI of USA. ಅವರು ಏನ್ ರೇಟ್ ಅನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಏನ್ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, that will impact our RBI rate. In turn, it will impact the monetary policy transmission, right? Okay. So, monetary policy transmission ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ what the RBI is doing. One is moral suasion. Morally, they are going to persuade the banks, right? Then, incremental CRO are being made zero for loans. Andre CRR, cash reserve ratio. Certain sectors, nan helde it is at 4%. For sectors like housing, amele for certain sectors like housing, affordable housing ella CRR na zero ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. When affordable housing ge CRR zero ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 4% money will go to housing sector. More houses will get built. It will help the public, isn't it? Monetary policy transmission. Yes. Okay. So, and also long term repo operation, LTRO, andre long term bonds na buy ಮಾಡಿ short term bonds na sell ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. That will also lead to monetary policy transmission. Next, last topic for the day, repo rate and deposit rate linkage 2019. So, there are so many rates. There are bank rates, base rate is there, MCLR rate is there, bank rate is there, statutory liquidity ratio is there, LAF is there, marginal standing facility is there. So many rates are there. So all these have to be merged. So many of these have to be merged. Okay. So RBI repo rate, andre what deposit rate and RBI repo rate linkage ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, see, it is simple. RBI repo rate ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ banks give the money like at MCLR. This MCLR is linked to repo rate. Repo rate ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ MCLR will increase, repo rate ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ it will decrease. So this is the linkage of deposit rate. Deposit rate is MCLR and repo rate. Repo rate na link ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So this is the concept of linkage 2019. Tomorrow we will take up the concept of RBI and finish it. I know economy is taking time, but getting conceptual clarity. History and polity are linear subjects, but economy you need to have proper conceptual clarity, or else you will not be able to answer the questions. Okay, please make good use out of these classes. If you have any comments, any doubts, please type down it in the comment box. Also join our Telegram channel, VHS Education Forum. You can ping me directly. I am going to clear all your doubts there. Please take good care of your health and let us meet tomorrow. Jai Hind, Namaste.